Hello and welcome to another tier list video. Today we are taking a look at one of the classics, Wii Sports. Now Wii Sports is the game that came with the Wii way back in the day, and honestly it's a pretty good game as far as a free game that comes with the console. I don't really have too many complaints about it. It's a pretty good casual party game, no matter how bad you are at video games, you can always play the sports in Wii Sports. They're fairly easy to just pick up and play. And honestly, some of them are pretty enjoyable even today. So starting us off, we have Wii Bowling, which I would say is probably the most popular one. It's a really easy game. You only need one controller and you can play up to 4 people since, you're not bowling at the same time, of course. And it's really pretty simple. The motion is pretty simple. Some of my friends played this one quite a lot and got perfect games. I don't think I really ever got too far above 200 points in Wii Bowling, but it's a really a pretty fun game to play with just a few friends. It's a really casual one. You don't really need to pay too much attention. It's just a pretty easy one to play if you're just hanging out in the living room and you got the Wii turned on. So Wii Bowling, definitely a solid one. I would say it's the most popular. Not quite my favorite, but definitely gonna be a solid A tier. Up next we have Tennis. Now, as far as the 1v1 games, because some of these games, such as tennis, baseball, and boxing, you can only play with 2 players head to head. I think tennis is probably the most fun one to play head to head. That being said, it's definitely less of a casual game than bowling is. You really got to pay attention. It's more fun to be standing up and swinging the controller, but in reality, when you're playing tennis, you could just be sitting on the couch, just swinging your remote back and forth. But I think this one is pretty fun. You don't have to control your Mii character, where you're going on the court. They always just chase the ball properly. It's really just about swinging your controller at the right time. And I think this one is pretty fun. I'm not a big tennis player in real life, but Wii Tennis, I enjoy it. And as far as the head-to-head sports go in Wii Sports, this is probably my favorite one. And it's also going to find itself up in the A tier. Up next, we have Wii Baseball. Now, this is another head-to-head one, and I'm not personally a huge fan of this. I actually like playing some other baseball games on consoles, but Wii Sports Baseball is not really my favorite. There's just not a whole lot going on in this one. Tennis is pretty basic, but tennis you can really only do, one thing, and that's swing your racket, since you're not controlling where your character goes, really. But baseball, when you're pitching, you're just swinging your remote straight up and down. You don't really control your pitch based on how you throw it. It's just how fast it goes across the sensor. And then batting is just, it's not how hard you swing it or how quick. It's just literally when you swing it. And, when you hit the ball into the outfield, you're pretty much just watching the Mii's take over. You're not the one throwing the ball to first base or second base. You can't steal bases or anything. So it's just a little bit too much of a watered down version of baseball for me. It's still fun, but as far as head-to-head games go, it's just not quite on the same level as tennis. Still enjoyable, don't get me wrong, but just not quite there for me. So it's going to find itself in kind of a low B tier. Up next, we have Golf. Now, this is probably my favorite one to play in Wii Sports. They got 9 holes, and honestly, it's pretty fun. It's not anything crazy, but it's much easier than other golf games on consoles. I've played other games like, PGA Tour, and honestly, there can be a bit of a learning curve where Wii Sports Golf, it's really pretty easy. You're just picking your club, swinging it, and, making sure you don't swing too hard so it's super inaccurate. But honestly, just a pretty fun one. Again, you only need one controller. Like bowling, you can play with 4 people. Wii Golf, a really fun one, definitely my favorite one. Got a few hole-in-ones in my days, not to brag or anything, but definitely going to be up in the S tier for me. Last, but, well, admittedly, I would say least, is Wii Boxing. This is one that I've probably played the least, and for good reason. I'm just really not a huge fan of this one. One of my friends really liked this one, and he always wanted to play it, but I was really not a fan of Wii Boxing. It's not terrible by any means. If I had nothing to play and I was on a desert island, sure, I'd probably play Wii Boxing to pass the time. But if I have the other sports available, I'm probably just not going to pick this one. Also, getting the pro rating in Wii Sports Boxing was super hard because the computer was just insane at boxing. This is also the only one that required the use of the nunchuck, which I didn't mind, but I'm just not a huge fan of boxing. Again, it's only a 2-player Wii Sports game. And honestly, just not a huge fan of it. So it's not awful, don't get me wrong, but it is going to find itself down in the D tier. Well, that's my list. Let me know your guys' thoughts, and I hope you enjoyed.